Hello, friends. So, welcome to this sharing about Atmanirbharta. And I was thinking about this topic of Atmanirbharta, which is self sufficiency, which is self reliance. And yesterday we discussed about what is Atma, what is the self. And we took the reference from Yoga Vasishta to understand what is the self. To understand that the self is not the mind, it's not the body, but it is something beyond that. And we understood and we practically also tried to experience that. Now, coming to today, I'm going to talk about how abiding in the self, how Atmanirbharta can be a way for manifestation. And of course, it's something that all of us aspire for. Even I find myself getting disturbed in many situations. For example, recently I was the admin of a particular group, and there was a lot of chaos on that group, a lot of abusive behavior, and eventually it started affecting me. So it is a tough task for all of us to really abide in the self, to connect with what is called as Atma. But we have to try our best. So today we are going to talk about how Atmanirbharta concept can lead to manifestation. How can it lead to manifestation? How can it lead to creation of something new? So I was just thinking about this, and I thought to myself that generally what we generally is that once I achieve what I want, Atmanirbharta works in a reverse fashion. Self-sufficiency works in a reverse fashion. Once you are self-sufficient, I think we are having some internet problems, but that's fine. Once we are really self-sufficient in a spiritual context, in the deepest context, you will find that manifestation and creation becomes an inspired activity. It is not a forced activity, it becomes an inspired activity. So let me share with you some examples. For example, let's talk about this very practically today, before I come to Yoga Vasishta again and what Yoga Vasishta says about this. So for example, if you're looking for a soulmate, how does Atmanirbharta, self-sufficiency help you? Let's try to solve problems using Atmanirbharta. Let's try to solve problems using this premise of self-sufficiency. So you're looking for a soulmate, you're looking for a woman, you're looking for a man with whom you want to live for the rest of your life and who will be a good companion or whatever. Self-sufficient. Being self-sufficient means living as if you have everything that you ever wanted. Not living in frustration, not living in dejection, but living as if you already have abundance. Because if you live in that state of abundance, if you live in that state of self-sufficiency, your behavior will be different, your actions will be different, your vibration will be different. And because this vibration is different, it is going to attract your soulmate. It is going to attract the right kind of person. Will a woman be attracted to a man who is unhappy, frustrated, dejected, living in a state of lack? Or will a woman be attracted to a man who is abundant, who is joyful, who is full of clarity, who is full of life, who is full of passion? Think about it. So, always living in this state of self-sufficiency as if I have what I am aspiring for is going to bring to me what I want, what I desire. This is the difference between the law of attraction in the Western context, as per the Secret, which was written by Rhonda Byrne, and the Indian context with Yoga Vasishta. That Yoga Vasishta says just cleanse yourself, empty yourself. And today the chapter we are going to see is exactly called as Method of Purification. And I'm looking at a very simple version of Yoga Vasishta, which is a summary, Yoga Vasishta Sara. I'm using the verses Of course, I've heard about Yoga Vasishta from many different masters, etc., etc. But I'm using a very simple version to share with you some of the sutras. So friends, the first sutra is for purification. So because unless we purify ourselves, we cannot connect with what is Atma. We cannot connect with what is the deepest self. We cannot connect with Atma, we cannot connect with the self. And yesterday we understood what is the self. But how do we get there? So let's talk about that. So Sage Vasishta is giving guidance to Ram in the Yoga Vasishta. It is guidance given to Sri Ram by Sage Vasishta. So this is a sage, this is not an author, this is not somebody who's researching, it's somebody who's really attained something. You know, when we say it's a rishi, a sage, it's somebody who's attained something, it's somebody who has really got that power, you know, at a deep experiential level. So he says in the first sutra in purification, he says, O Raghava, be outwardly active but inwardly active also. Outwardly a doer but inwardly a non-doer, and thus play your part in the world. So treat everything as a play, do what you have to do, but outside, inside you are just sthit pragya, you are just kind of very stable, you are not participating and getting frustrated from the inside. That is the state we aspire for, to be really abiding in the self, self-sufficient, Atmanirbhar. Now second sutra is, O Raghava, abandon all the desires inwardly, be free from attachments and latent impressions, do everything outwardly and thus play your part in the world. So again he is saying, delete attachments, delete impressions, because with these attachments, impressions, you are frustrated. How can you get wealth if you are frustrated? How can you attract wealth? How can you attract the woman you want if you are frustrated? It will just not happen. So he's saying, delete, neti neti, delete, 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 cleanse yourself. Remove those patterns which are leading to all sorts of all sorts of friction. Okay. Third sutra, which is said in the Yoga Vasishta about method of purification. The third sutra is, O Raghava, adopt a comprehensive view characterized by the abandonment of all objects of contemplation. Live in your innate self, liberated even when alive, Jivan Mukta, and thus play your part in the world. So be liberated while you are alive. Don't leave your body, but don't be attached to the body, don't be attached to the concepts. Fourth sutra, burn the forest of duality with the fire of the conviction, I am the one pure consciousness, and remain happy. So he says, be happy regardless of anything that you have, regardless, just know that you are that pure consciousness. As I said yesterday, we are just rising for 70, 80 years, we are going to die, we are going to conk off, and then again recycling will take place in nature. Rebirth, recycling, whatever you call it. The dead body will go, it will become fertilizer, manure, whatever, and recycling will take place. Rebirth will take place, all of these things. Okay, fifth sutra. You are bound firmly on all sides by the idea, I am the body. Cut that bond by the sword of knowledge, I am consciousness, and be happy. So as I said, this body is just going to last 80, 90, 100 years old. That's it. And after that, you are not this body. So this body is like the waves, this personality is like the waves appearing on the ocean. It's temporary. It's just going to go. It doesn't matter. So we have to keep telling ourselves it doesn't matter. But the consciousness, the larger picture is what will always remain. This larger picture is Shunya, and yet it gives birth to everything. So, sixth sutra, discarding the attachment to non-self, regarding the world as a partless, as a whole, concentrated and with attention turned inwards, remain as pure consciousness. So we sit in meditation, our attention is inward and all of that. But when we go in our daily activity, we get distracted. When we go into our daily activity, we get disturbed. So how to keep one arrow pointing inwards and one arrow pointing in the world? That is the whole challenge here. So remain as pure consciousness, operate as pure consciousness rather than this little identity that you have which is going to last for just a few years. That's what it is saying. Now, 7th sutra again says, remain always as pure consciousness, which is your constant, that is true nature, beyond the states of waking, dream and deep sleep. So, in waking state, dream, sleep, deep lives will go away. O mighty armed, be always free from mental concepts like the heart of a rock. So again, he says, O mighty armed, be always free from mental concepts like the heart of a rock, though not insentient like it. Means be very stable, but don't be dead, don't be emotionless. Just be very stable. That's what he says. And rest of all the sutras in purification are about getting rid of these patterns by being aware of this knowledge that I am the self. I am the self which is permanent. This body, these thoughts, this personality is going to disappear. The moment we start adopting this through our sadhana, through our spiritual practices, when we start realizing this, what happens is the doors open for manifestation. The doors open for inspiration. So that's why I was just making some notes and I drew this, I drew this and I said, I don't know if you can see it, detachment leads to inspiration, inspiration leads to manifestation and creation. Because with the detachment, when we stop detaching, when we stop pushing our agenda, we become blank. When we become blank, the universe starts speaking to us. We start getting inspired because we are so relaxed. When we are relaxed, we fall in love. When we are running around, when we are trying to take flights, when we are trying to meet deadlines, that is not the time when love happens. That is not the time when something beautiful happens. For something beautiful to happen, you have to be relaxed. So most of the time people fall in love when they are on a vacation. People fall in love when they are in some kind of relaxed situation. When there are candle lights, when there are beaches, they find themselves in a relaxed context, and that's when they manifest, that's when they create something. So manifestation takes place when we erase all that we have, and all of us are working on it through our sadhana. We are progressing on this through our sadhana, through our practices. And the Western law of attraction, or the law of attraction which is given in The Secret, is a bit of the reverse. What it says is, you want something from your inner wants and ego, you want something, you achieve that. And once you achieve that, you will feel free. But here in the Eastern law of attraction, which is deeply ingrained in our Upanishads, in the Yoga Vasishtha, what we are saying is that do the reverse. First be free, and once you are free, let that inspiration come inside you and let things start manifesting as a play. And when it starts manifesting as a play, as a creation, don't get attached to it. Play with it, play along with it, enjoy it, but don't get attached to it. Because if you get attached, again you are caught up, again you are in misery, again you are unhappy. And that's why he says, be happy with the knowledge that I am pure consciousness. Be happy that you are eternal. You are not your college degrees, you are not your name, you are not your caste, you are not your religion. All of these things are just going to disappear. Just 60, 70, 80 years. That's what I say. I say it in a very simple way because that's what people understand. So the law of attraction becomes more soulful when we go through the root of the soul. when we go through the route of abiding in the self, when we become khali, empty, blank, shunya, because then the divine inspiration starts playing, manifestation starts taking place. And I have seen many yogis, I have seen many teachers who have achieved this blank state, this zero state, and then they have been able to manifest beautiful things. But those beautiful things are not part of their thought process, it's not part of their hard work, it's inspiration, it's pure inspiration. And then the inspiration makes them work, then the inspiration makes them do things. That's a different story, but they are not attached. They are just enjoying what is happening through them. So my friends, this is a very important sutra. What I am telling you today is very interesting, it's very beautiful. Try it, try to be more blank, try to spend more time in silence and see what inspiration comes. It is very important, especially during these crisis times when everyone is looking at social media, getting anxious and kind of, and sometimes all of us, including me, become part of it and start struggling with it, with our minds. But we have to sit in silence and let this inspiration dawn upon us. And I have experienced this personally many times, though it's always a challenge to keep it going on a sustained level. We have to keep trying and keep doing this. Osho used to talk about, okay, yeah, hi, yes. So Osho used to talk about, hi Arman. Arman is a great musical maestro, upcoming musical maestro. Thanks for joining, Arman. So Arman is a great musical maestro, and his guru and his father is the great Ustad Rashid Khan. So thank you for joining, Arman. So Osho used to talk about the concept of Zorba the Buddha. Osho used to talk about celebration and consciousness, spirituality and material pleasure, both going hand in hand. And exactly this is what Osho was talking about. Osho was somebody who really did his sadhana, who really made himself completely available to the universe, so that so many beautiful things started happening in his life. An entire vision, an entire inspiration for generations to come has been seeded by Osho's work. Though there are a lot of controversies around him, there is a lot of creation, there are a lot of musicians who come from the world of Osho, there are a lot of authors who are inspired by Osho, there are a lot of philosophers who are inspired by Osho, there are a lot of architects who are inspired by him. So this is what I am talking about. You become a conduit, you become a container for the universal inspiration to come through you. For example, an artist like Arman Khan, he can create amazing music in those moments when he is relaxed and inspired. Suddenly something comes, suddenly something beautiful strikes him. When he is inspired, when he is relaxed, and this is the sutra for inspiration. This is the sutra for creativity, that we have to become shunya, we have to become blank. And as I said, Osho spoke about the vision of Zorba the Buddha. I wish that all of you can embrace the Buddha, and Zorba will also be there. We are not condemning Zorba, we are not saying it's not required, we are not saying pleasures are not required, we are and not hankering for something. We are not begging the universe for something. We are understanding that we have the infinite potential of the universe accessible to us. We become aware that the infinite potential of the universe is accessible to me. Hence I can be the best artist. Hence I can be the best author. Not because I want to be, not because I want to prove to my father or to my family or to my friends or to my society. That is ego. That is not Nirvarta. Atma is divine inspiration. So becoming blank, forgetting about what everyone is expecting, because all these people who are expecting from us are temporary. They are just going to disappear at some point. And we are also going to disappear at some point. So how about being a patra? How about being a container? How about being a medium? How about being a channel for divine inspiration by connecting with Atma, by connecting who we really are, knowing our true self through the learnings of Yoga Vasishtha, through silently sitting and spending time with ourselves. Let us do this. Let us experience this. And definitely it is going to be a great experience for you. Try to meditate, try to spend time in silence, and you will see this spark of creation definitely being channeled through you. So I hope this was useful, this was helpful for you to understand how the law of attraction and Atmanirbharta go hand in hand. Thank you for joining. Cheers.